Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I am your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be, was made by God. Everything that ever happened, is happening right now, or ever will happen, was made to happen by God. God is a master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge Incorporated. The society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common, and that's the knowledge that there is a being. But no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, by no matter what name we may have come to know that being, whether that name be God, Allah, Yahweh, Jesus, Jehovah, Buddha, nature, by no matter what name, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all the power. We know that there is indeed an almighty being. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, and that's to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed almighty. I'm going to take a minute, and I'm going to, we do have another panel member that's joining us on Zoom, and that's Brother Israel. Hey, Brother Israel, good evening. I think you're on mute now. You there, brother?
Peace. Can you hear me now?
Got you, brother. How you doing this evening?
What's up? I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. We're going to go into our announcements, and then after our announcements, we will get started with our discussion tonight. And our discussion topic tonight is soul ascension. Okay, soul ascension. That's our discussion topic tonight. So let's see if we can get into our announcements and get through that, and then we can get into our discussion. Okay. As you see, that's our acknowledgement. We're acknowledging that indeed God is Almighty. Today is January 28th, 2021. I remind that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. And I remind that fact because this show is an open discussion. It's a two-way conversation. For those of you that are watching by Facebook, I invite you to join the discussion by posting your comments on Facebook, and I'll do my very best to read out your comments over the air. Those of you that are watching the Zoom, I invite you to join our Zoom panel. Those of you that are watching by Facebook, if you look, there's an earlier post that I did today, and you see there's an invitation to join my Zoom. So this, all right, Dr. Franklin. All right.
Yeah, Donatus, how are you?
I'm doing well. Just wanted to welcome you to the panel. We have Brother Israel is also with us on the panel. We have our announcements. We're going to do our announcements, and after that, then we're going to open up our panel discussion. And our panel discussion tonight is on the soul ascension. Soul, S-O-U-L, ascension. All right, so if you will bear with us, and let's see if we can get back to sharing that screen. All right, you know, this technology is great. You know, you can share so much with the technology. All right, let's say today is the 28th, and as I said earlier, remind that fact because this is a two-way broadcast, an open discussion. Message to you now of peace and love coming out of the state of Florida. And I always encourage all of our viewers, if there's something going on in your church, your mosque, your masjid, your synagogue, your temple, your place of worship, and you want to let the world know about it, post your comments on Facebook or join the Zoom panel discussion, let the world know about it. If there's something that's going on in your nonprofit organization, I invite you to do the same thing. More important than what's going on in your place of worship, more important than what's going on in your nonprofit, at least in my opinion, more important. If there's something that God has done for you in your life, a miracle that God has worked in your life, and I use that term literally, that word literally, a miracle, because the God that I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. That's right. In January of 2021, January 28th, 2021, the God I'm here to tell you about is working miracles. So if God is working a miracle in your life, share your testimony. Let folks know. You don't have to give up hope. Even if you have some type of illness, and maybe the doctors have not been able to help you, medicine hasn't been able to help, there's a power, by no matter what name you want to call it, there's a power that can cure whatever problem that you have. God is working miracles. That's right. In 2021, on January 28th, 2021, the God I'm here to tell you about is still working miracles. A religious spiritual study, prove all things, hold fast that which is good, coming out of the first book, Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. And we're reminded in tonight's discussion, soul ascension, soul, S-O-U-L, ascension. All right, that sounds pretty interesting. We're going to see what that's all about. Once we get through that, if we do, we'll have our words of inspiration coming out of the book of Exodus chapter 9, verses 20 through 35. That's our main website there. That's www.godisalmighty.org. I invite you to visit that website, lock it into your web browser, and once you're there are links to all of our social media outlets. We have a blog page, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, get to it. There's a piece. We have Messenger Tainab that's on right now. And Messenger Tainab is not only a messenger in the Society of Knowledge, and he was located in North Carolina. He was located in North Carolina, but he is now relocated, and he is in the state of Florida. And he shared with me something a little bit earlier today, and I want to share it with you all, because I say not only is he a messenger with the Society of Knowledge, but he's also a musical artist. Something about the things you do that's got me tripping about you. So stupid, so foolish. And that is indeed Messenger Tainab. One day I wake up. And his release, It's You, featuring Ty Hunter. Just get frack. She said she'd like to hear me build, make it sit back. Yeah, you know the deal. She want to feel it, little chit chat. Little ripping up piano, have me spitting on volcano. Yeah, never try to play you when they know you have to take all the elements is here, my dude. Periodic, take me out and get pushed to the right. The problem is you're not as stable. Words have such a effect. All right, that's just a little taste of it. And that is Messenger Tainab, It's You, featuring Ty Hunter. So she's a multi-talented young man, and it's great that he is a part of the society. Say, I invite you to go. His name is Tainab, and you can go on our Facebook page, and there's some information on how to get to his video. All right. So with all that being said, now I want to welcome our panel members, and we'll start off with Dr. Franklin, Dr. Enchante Franklin. Dr. Franklin, good evening. It's great to have you with us on the panel this evening. It's coming through. Hello, doctor.
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. How's everyone tonight?
All right.
Peace.
Doing well.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm happy to be back on here. Last week was really hectic. I guess you could say my chakras were all out of alignment last week, moving around from here to there. But finally got myself back into alignment. I did a little, I went to the Atlantic Ocean this week. Well, this weekend passed and did some work on myself. But I'm back. I'm happy to be back and
Yeah,
ready
we
to
have
talk with
something.
you all.
There's something happening with your lighting, Dr. Franklin.
Let's just go. Are you guys? How's this?
Okay, that's live. A live feed is better. Uh, but if this is, if whatever you're more comfortable with.
Okay. Let's try to get me a live feed.
All right. It seems as though you're outside.
I'm coming from class. I was
Uh,
teaching a class.
all right. And would you share that with our viewers? As far as where you're teaching, no, that's much better. Where you're teaching?
I'm teaching at Southern University at New Orleans, master level social work class.
All right. All right.
All right, there I go. How's this?
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, there we go. I'm still learning how to use these things too. So yeah, I am a professor of social work at Southern University at New Orleans. I'm teaching this tonight was our mental health class, and it's ironic that we're having a talk about the chakras and energy because I did have a little talk with my students based on how they're feeling about the pandemic and things like that. So when I work with college students, I work a lot from the throat chakra and helping them to express themselves, pretty much talking about what they want to do for community. I think that once you can talk about what you want to do, you're able to pretty much put in a plan. Once you talk about it with someone who's doing it, pretty much, you're able to better create a plan and believe in yourself. And then you're able to follow in some of the footsteps and some of the energetic fields that they've placed themselves in, because all of this is energy. And it depends on how high you keep yours, how low you keep yours, and medium, because there is low, there is high, and there is medium. So it just depends on you as a person, how you want to maneuver and how you want to bring your soul, because I know you're talking about the soul as well in this, and how you want to bring your soul work into this into this realm of our reality,
Oh,
because ultimately everything we're doing, even going to college, all of this stuff is just stuff to get us to where we need to be to bring that soul work out. None of this is really about us as vessels. It's really about what has been placed inside of us to bring it forward. So when you talk about the chakra system, that is connected to our soul. I like to talk about the 7 of them now, but I myself sit on the 8th chakra. It's the seat of the soul. And I think that at some point you'll have another talk about, going forward with that as we get people on to what we're talking about right now, to understand what it really is about, because it's you. It's only your internal self and how much of your energy you can push out into the universe, into our realm of reality.
all right. That we'll come back to that. You might have seen me writing some notes down, but that realm of reality, I do want us to take and expand on that a little bit. But as we are opening up the discussion now, Brother Israel, good evening, Brother Israel. Have some opening comments for us?
Uncle Uja Chanel, life, prosperity, and health to all the vills and everybody. No, I'm just ready to just jump into this.
All
Because
right.
time, how they say time flies when you're having fun.
You,
About to have
Yeah,
fun. So I
yeah,
don't
let's
have
have
a lot
some
of
fun.
time.
you're right. You're right. I had, I've done, and I like to try to play the part sometimes of the Rosetta Stone. For those of our viewers that may not be familiar with the Rosetta Stone, that's like a code book that's uh, used by linguists to interpret different languages. Uh, and when I'm saying that, you know, a lot of times we can say the same thing. And we've talked about that on the show here. We can be saying the same thing, but because we're using a different language, we really don't understand what each other is saying. But this topic, and the topic being the soul ascension, that topic, to some people, that might be a foreign topic. You know, soul ascension is particularly some of us that may have been brought up and raised in Western religions. When I say Western religions, I'm speaking about Christianity, Judaism, Islam. They've been raised in those religions, and we may. And I hear you. I hear some of you talking about, well, Islam is not a Western religion. Well, it's all part of that. Believe it or not, accept it or not, it has a basis in the Abrahamic religion, which is coming out of Baghdad, Iraq. But anyway, some of us that have been raised in those religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, it might seem foreign when you talk about something like soul ascension and use that terminology that's used in other religions and beliefs, such as Hinduism. I want to thank my wife for joining us. Thank you, Sister Lena, for joining us out of Atlanta on Facebook. And all of our Facebook viewers, I encourage you to please hit the like button, hit the share button, start a watch party, help us to share this information. As we get into it, that's enough of an opening statement for me. And when I say it's enough of an opening statement, what I'm going to, just one thing there, even though the term soul ascension might be foreign to some that have been raised in Christianity, the concept of soul ascension is not foreign to Christianity, and is not foreign to Islam, is not foreign to Judaism. We actually find that concept in the Bible, in the Quran, that soul ascension. So with that being said, we're going to start the discussion. And I'd like to start the discussion actually with Dr. Franklin. And Dr. Franklin, your teachings at the university, and when we spoke last week, it really struck me how you were versed in the subject of chakras, which is something that seems though at first glance it might be foreign to academics, and when I say academics, foreign to a profession like psychology. So why don't you just clue us in a little bit more on how that concept, how you explore that concept and develop that concept in the discipline of psychology, mental health with your students.
Well, it's social work. It's not really psychology. So you're absolutely right. How do you get that conversation going with college students? How do you get it into a classroom, right? And well, they brought it into the classroom. They brought it to me. So it started out at I was at Clark Atlanta University, and I was learning about it. I was learning about holistic work, not so much about the chakras themselves, but students kept coming and they kept talking about their chakras were out of alignment. They kept talking about, they couldn't breathe. These things were happening, but people were teaching them things in the community without telling them about who they were. So I went and I started doing the research. So the entire time I was doing the research, I was like, I started feeling stuff. I was like, okay, well, this is what they're saying. Yeah, I feel this too. So it started with with thinking that the chakra system was from the head down, but turns out it was from the root, from the womb up, right? And so when I learned that, I thought, okay, well, I've been doing things a little backwards. And so I started working on that, and then I learned about what it meant to cleanse your chakras, what it meant when they were out of line. All of these things were important. But then I had to go backwards and learn what that looked like inside of me as the energy, right? So when they talked about the head, they were talking about how I think. When they talking about the third eye, they were talking about how I see with my brain, my pineal gland, how that works. When they were talking about the throat, they were talking about how I express, what are those things that I want to see in the world. So the more that I kept studying and then doing the work on those things, they begin to open up, and I felt them literally. So the truth came when I got to the heart of it. And this was, I always thought the heart chakra was red, but that's not true. It's green. So this was green energy I kept seeing in my prayer. So this is how all of this stuff goes into alignment. There's prayer that come in there. There's a whole lot of things that has to go with just learning about just the endocranian system, which is your chakra system. There's a lot of other things, because what is this system connected to as well? So when I got to the heart of it, it started showing me what it was connected to spiritually. And in order to get to the other pieces, I had to go through this spiritual awakening once my heart opened. And I think that once I started researching it, they called it something like a dark night of the soul, where once your heart opens, your soul begins to cry out. It lifts its head and it begins to scream out like you've arrived, pretty much. Yes, I've been waiting to breathe. So it's kind of like that feeling. So going through that place, once the heart opens up, it gives you it gives you space to it opens compassion for yourself. So what happened for me, once the heart opened, I had to jump from my sacral and my sacral and jump to my root. I don't know how I jumped that far ahead, but I was thrust forward to it, to ground myself with the heart energy before I would touch my sacral and sacral, because that's where most of my pain lies, most of my childhood pain. So before I could even go forward and teach this stuff, Mr. King, or teach this stuff to children, to students, to anyone, I had to cough out a lot of stuff that was within myself, that had all of those things blocked. So after I spent 2 years doing that, I came back and I thought that I had, I was good. And the spirit of God was like, no, it's time to teach it now. You've come through, you've healed yourself, you've spit out all of those toxins, you've learned it. You can't keep this, this is not your story to keep. So I started meeting other women that have been through the things that I have been through, and it gave me confidence then to teach it. Because I saw that if I didn't teach this stuff, what had happened was, God heard. So let me back up. When we do this, it's because God calls us, because he's heard his people with a cry for what you have to give forward. So what it meant for me is that if I did not step forward in teaching this, I was afraid to teach it. I resisted it. If I did not step forward in teaching people about their energetic fields, there would be a void inside of me. And as long as I did not teach it and I did not give it, I was depressed. I was really, really, in dark places, because I would not come forward and spit out of those systems what God had already healed in me. Once I start putting the water forward, I became more aligned. So what that means is that when I'm hurting, I still hurt, I still go through things, but I know how to fix that and where, those portals are open at and when it's time. So yeah, having that experience, helped me to understand what was in me after that. So we're not just flesh, we're a soul inside of ourselves. And every time that we have a connection with one another, it is for a reason. It is a frequency and a vibration that we're feeling, that's pulling us toward one another to learn a lesson. So you may have, sorry, you may have something within your heart chakra that I still need within mine, right? And so when I meet you, let's say I'm not well versed on my compassion yet. But I do know how to love. I do know how to love from an unconditional place, but I'm not well versed on my judgment of when someone else is hurting. But you are well versed on that. And so when you speak that to my heart, my open heart, I'm going to take that in, and it's going to become an energy that merges together between you and I, and then it becomes one. Whereas I come back and I teach that, and it's me and you then teaching my students. But you have to be careful, where you join your energetic fields with, because not all energetic fields are meant to be joined together. And sometimes we try to force them, and then pop them. And then we have to start all over again with the cleansing. So that is some of what I teach, and how I came to be here where I am now.
Well, look, that right there is a heck of a jumping off point. And I'm going to ask Brother Israel, and Brother Israel might have a little different language, but if we get right into the discussion, and you heard Dr. Franklin use a term, a word, soul, and seeing as though tonight's discussion topic is soul ascension, Brother Israel, I'm going to ask you to pick it up from there.
All right, yeah, that was some awesome testimony for somebody to explain the whole empirical experience of psychologically understanding what they're going through with that chakra thing. So that was some great information. Now, from the previous 2 weeks, this all started from talking about the Book of the Dead. And then we went into the whole thing about the Kundalini. And the brother mentioned about spirit and energy. And I mentioned that this is not about spirit and energy. This is about soul ascension. And that's, what's my deal. And that's what I'm, bringing to the people. So with that being said, for the viewers who might, how Mr. King said, you can find soul ascension concepts throughout all mystical sides of religion, not the ceremonial mind control side of religions, but the mystical spiritual principles. Like, in a nutshell, soul ascension is Christhood, Krishnahood, and for Kundalini talk, it's called Shakti. It's the crown female energy. It's divine feminine energy. So there's all this stuff we're talking about, once again, just to put it out there. We call God man, the Father and stuff. But the most divine energy we're talking about is a woman's, a female feminine energy. All right. So let's get into soul ascension now. Now, behind me, you see a shadow, and you see a bird with a man's head on it. Now, our ancestors, how we was talking about energy and stuff, there's something called the Ba and the Ka, all throughout ancient Kemet. Now, what we see of the Book of the Dead, what we was talking about, and you were showing the funerary text, you were showing the pictures of Ani's, what you did not mention was that was not Ani's spirit, that was not his energy that's on that judgment scene. That is his Ba. And his Ba is symbolic to his soul. Now, our ancestors taught that the Ka, which is a symbol that goes, looks, I showed you the Ka before, but it's a symbol with two arms pointing upward, sending energy upward. The Ka was symbolized as the spirit vehicle. Just like I explained on this show numerous times again, everything has spirit that roams the terrain of the planet. That's why we talk about spirit and chakra energy. Everything has spirit, but everything does not have a soul. And that's why I'm talking about soul ascension, because that's what the Christ, Krishna, Kundalini, Shakti, the ancient Nile Valley, here in America, South America, Central America, throughout the planet, melanated people with their different languages, their different customs, their different cultures, they all understood one principal thing, that they come here, enjoy this time here, learn, experience, go through the pain, joy, go through the sacral system, learning all this stuff. And then the most important thing is how to ascend up out of this. Now,
Okay, brother, if I could interrupt just for a second there. because there's some of us that may not be on the same page and understanding of when you use that word soul. So explain soul, explain that concept.
All right, soul from an English Latin term. The word soul was first used in Rome after the Greek period, during the early period of Rome. Soul, S-O-L, was the name for the sun. Now, ancient cultures taught that the sun is the eighth chakra. So the soul, the word soul, how we know the word soul, saying S-O-U-L, they just put a U in it, comes from the word S-O-L, which was the name for the sun. And they used that name for the sun in Latin because from a Nile Valley perspective, the sun in the sky is symbolic of the travel of the soul. So it's all tied in. The sun has a birth in the morning. The sun climbs the sky throughout the day, symbolic to a person growing. The sun reaches the height to where it burns the most during mid-noon, symbolic to a person being at full adulthood. And then the sun starts to set and starts to decline. And during that process, the sun goes through different colors. So our ancestors associated the soul of our humanity through a spiritual purpose with the sun. So the word soul was used in Latin to explain the sun, and how Latin theologians and the formation of Christianity was being developed is all about sun worship. You could go pick up 1,000 YouTubes, if you're a real researcher, and go study and read some books and not be pseudoscience. You could do a lot of research and see that sun symbolism is prevalent through Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. So it only makes sense that the soul comes from the Latin word soul.
Okay, so that correlation between the sun, the word soul, and you also mentioned energy, and Dr. Franklin was speaking about energy, and the energy that, as you just stated, that all things composed of energy. So this energy, and as we go through that soul ascension, coming from a baser form, and I use that word not derogatively, but a baser form of energy to a more pure form of energy, and that comes up through those chakras till you get to that point of oneness. All right, brother. Soul ascension. All right.
Yeah, that's correct. That's yeah.
So, so that, go ahead.
Go right ahead. This is an open discussion.
Okay, so yeah, so when we talk about that ascension, and we're looking at, so if we were talking about the brother and I, and we were talking about relationship, right? So when you look at relationship, I would say the triangle effect. Two, the masculine on one side, feminine on the other side, but the ultimate thing for both is to rise on each side of the triangle to get to the top, which is the ultimate energy. So even when you are aligning yourself in relationship, it's very, very important to understand each other in those areas of that energetic field, because where are you trying to go? If you are aligned together at the bottom and you have this conversation, if somebody gets left at, if somebody gets fractured in the area of their chakra system, it's important for you to look over and see that they're not aligned with you. How do you go back and grab your person to bring them forward, to continue to lifting them? It's also about symbol, because that's aligned to chakra system when you look at it. It's also about understanding symbol and what else is embedded in those symbols that are in the colors, that are in the area of where they're located. Because if your sacral is a little off, if it's a little fractured, what color food do you eat? what intentions are you putting there? Because for a female, if your side and your kidney area, your back area is always affected, it's not just because of how you're sitting. It's not just because of how you're sleeping. There are other things that play a role in your health, in your, go ahead in there and check out what's happening to you. Maybe it's a relationship fracture that you have, or if it's in your throat, you can't speak often. You're always having a sore throat. What is going on with that? Are you saying the things that you need to say to people? So it's very important that we break these things down. Like when we're teaching people, you have people teaching you about symbols, and they're putting them on shirts, and they're not telling you what it is. Let's say the brother's talking about the bird behind him. Let's say he would have had Ma'at standing behind him. She has a bird head too. She has a feather. She has a heart. And oftentimes you will see people posting those things, putting those things on paper, but they don't really, know the magnitude of what it means. And it's something that simple, broken down, can be your measurement of next to goodwill. If you measure the heart, is it balanced? Is your heart balanced? Is it light as a feather? Have you done goodwill to people? What does the principles of Mayat mean? Because all of these things play a part in what we're talking about. So it takes time to do this, though. It doesn't come overnight. You have to really, really say to yourself, I'm ready for the soul ascension. And once you get on that journey, it's kind of, hard to step on off it, really.
All right. All right.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
All right, Brother Israel.
No,
The deeper you go, because I find myself now in ancient times. So the deeper you go into it, the deeper, you really, really go. So.
All right, Brother Israel.
all right, I want to touch on a couple of things right fast. Now, our ancestors used the symbol of the ibis bird mainly as the symbol for the soul. Now, when the ibis bird let
We
it
can't see with your background, brother. You gotta take your background off. We can't see the picture of the phone.
when the ibis bird sleeps, it tucks his head under his arm and it takes the shape of a heart. It takes the shape of a human heart. Now, ancestors use that simply to explain, from my research and the teachers that I study under, to explain that that's where the soul starts its flight. Now, some people call it, it's taught in modern times through the Indian masters who came to America in the 1800s, who started teaching white college students about Indian symbolism. They all got into Kundalini and they all got into this stuff. Well, then they learned that that's the fourth chakra. You know what I mean? So now, soul ascension, I want to explain this for some people who might not understand it. Let's say the car, you have a car. A car is symbolic to spirit and energy. A car is the spirit of energy. The person inside of the car will be equal to the soul. They work together, but the person has a greater responsibility than the car, because the person is the mind, the person is the nous, the person is the one who does the driving, not the car. Even though they're trying to make mechanical cars now, but the person actually drives the car. So I hope people can understand that when I try to separate spirit and soul. They're the same because we come together, but one has a higher destiny than the other. Because you get out your car, you don't stay in a car. So the soul gets out the body. That's why cars be in junkyards, and that's why we have graveyards.
All right. So now
Come on.
all right.
That's when that and the piggyback on that, when you talk about that soul, you can be looking at an individual, check it out, and they soul out the body, but what's still moving is the genetic system, the DNA and the genetic system. You can even see that by the drag of the feet. Like the soul ain't even in there. You hear people have these experiences all the time. They come back and they say, I don't even know where I was. I wasn't even present. But they're not consciously paying attention. It's too much pain in the body right now for that soul to even sit in there. Because the soul know what it came to do. But when it starts seeing you like, come on, man, like you fighting off what I'm here to do. Like, I can't stay in here and let you keep doing this. So it does. It's like,
Right,
I'm out of
right,
here.
Right,
right,
brother.
right.
Yeah.
That's
Then you
like a
start
record
seeing
store.
mental
You don't want that.
illness.
Right.
You-
Brother,
Right, right,
I
right.
want to thank
Brandon,
I want to thank Brother Kevin for joining us on Facebook, Sister Michelle for joining us on Facebook, and all of our Facebook viewers. Ask that you please hit the like button, hit the share button. For our panel members tonight, for those that are watching by Facebook, for those that will watch this later on, either on YouTube or on Facebook, it's not by luck, it's not by happenstance that we are participating, that we're watching, that we're a part of this moment. It's all part of a design plan, whether or not we use the language of God's divine plan, whether or not we use the language that energy, whatever language we use, the reality of it is this was meant to be. And it was meant to be for a purpose, that we've been brought together for a purpose. So I just want to throw that in there. But again, Sister Franklin, it sounded like you were getting ready to say something. I just had to make sure we acknowledged our Facebook viewers. Sister Franklin.
no, it was a brother. Brother was about to speak.
yeah, I was agreeing with what Miss Franklin was saying. Like, if you don't go get that car an alignment and worked on this stuff, you don't get it right. You ain't gonna want it no more. So that's symbolically the soul exit the body in bad health and the whole nine. So yeah. And one more thing I want to talk about in regards to the Christian, Judeo-Christian thing. We have monoism, we have dichotomy, we have trichotomy. And monoism deal with the beliefs it's just one. And the dichotomy deals with the belief that there's, body and soul, a body and spirit. And the trichotomy deals with body, soul, and spirit. So there's different Judeo-Christian thoughts on how the soul is viewed. And I want to sense, we have a lot of Christian viewers. I know in the Bible, Mary's in Luke, I think chapter 1, verse 46 and 47, it says, first Mary's spirit exalted in God, then her soul magnified the Lord. So that shows you right there. The spirit only exalted the God, but her soul magnified God.
All right, that Brother Israel turned to a Baptist preacher. Go ahead, brother.
No, I mean, this is all
No,
our stuff.
this like it all go together. So it's like it's so many
Yeah, you're right.
versions of everything. Even if we
Right.
looking at we looking at right now, I'm learning some Hebrew, right? So
Mhm.
even if we learning the interpretation of Hebrews and how that go, in order for us to tell someone about this word, we got to know a foundation from somewhere. So the brother only bringing us to the foundation and pulling us back to it, because even if we look at our NIV and our King James version, it's still broken down from something. It's broken down from the Hebrew, and then even within our King James and our NIV, we got Latin stuff. So we got a mixture of everything in all of our pieces. We done bought so much into everything.
And now we have this gumbo of a discussion tonight, which is fantastic. Brother Israel, as always, man, I thank you for the scholarship that you bring to the discussion. And as I said a minute ago, that it's not just by chance that we've been called together at this moment in time. It is for a purpose. And you might be able, I've been doing this for 40 years, so you might be able to tell how much I love it. And it's, as I say, 40 years ago that I had that soul ascension, that revelation, that indeed we're all part of the one. And it's been my work, my mission over the past 40 years to deliver that message that there is an almighty being that we're all part of. And it's great is great. Being able to hear that message being delivered and how it's being not deciphered by, but how folks are coming together with that understanding. And it's Sister Franklin. It's and I see, yes, Sister Shakita on Facebook, Divine Purpose, exactly, Divine Purpose. You know, I read, and I'm a, I'm going to copy of Brother Israel. Brother Israel started quoting the Bible, so I'm going to quote the Bible a little bit myself. There's some scriptures that speak about how at one point in time that men all spoke one language and they understood each other. Now, that language wasn't necessarily a verbal language, but it was some form of communication that they were able to understand each other. And when it came to that point, there was nothing that was withheld from them. And as I say, I see that point coming now. And as the scripture says, that men's languages were confused. And as I see what's going on now, as Sister Shakita commented just now on Facebook, divine purpose. I see it being in the divine purpose of the one that we are coming together with that understanding, no matter what languages we're speaking, no matter what dialect, we're coming together and being able to understand each other. So we have about 10 minutes left. I'm going to, to make sure that we optimize what we're doing now. I'm going to start with Dr. Franklin. Go ahead, Doctor.
So Donatas, you spoke about Mary, right? So like in this moment, and then we
spoke about Mary.
Okay, about Mary, and in this moment, you know, in divine purpose, I'm thinking like, what did Moses, Gideon, and Mary have in common? You know, if it's this panel right here, it's three of us, like, what did they have in common? Because even those stories of those individual people in the Bible are about, it's about life perspectives. It's not so much about them as individuals. It's about what they came to teach us. That Mary came to teach us that, you know, God can use anyone. The Spirit can use anyone. What did Gideon come to teach us? What did Moses come to teach us? It's about indeed what the message and the lesson was, not the individual, because I hope no one sees me. I hope no one even sees the vessel here, but hear from the soul, you know, what has been called up out of me to deliver at this time. I may not even remember what I said to you all because it's not even me here. So yeah, it's like, what did those three have in common? And, you know, what can we take from that and give to, and bring together and give to the collective?
All right. Brother Ron, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Dr. Franklin, where I was going just a second ago is that as we see that the Spirit, that God, that the one, that the Almighty, the universe is bringing us together. And at this point in time, there may be someone that's watching this program right now, watching it, and it may be someone that's going to watch it later on, as I said, on YouTube or on Facebook. And they may want to hear that information from that voice, as you said, that Mary voice. And I know, as you said, that you shared with us that you are a professor
Yes.
at SUNO now. Is it one? Okay, number one. What class is it that you're teaching? Is it too late to join that class? And then number two, is there any other study group that you're a part of where if someone wanted to, you know, continue in discussions like this, that they'd be able to come and just participate?
Oh, sure. So I'm often called upon to do a lot of like vision board manifestation parties with women of color in community. So they can reach out to me through Facebook. That's probably right now the best place. Phone number that collective can reach me on, it's 423 area code 423-755-1489. Leave messages. That's as easy as I can give it.
All right. Now, what I'll ask you to do is if you could email me that information, and as you see at the beginning of each show, when we do announcements, I can make sure the same way I do announcements about Imani 28 and 49, I can make sure that I put that information about the message boards that you're doing so that folks would be able to, get in touch with you and continue
Okay.
in their growth. All right. Brother Israel, same question. I know that you've before, shared information with us. So why don't you share that information with our viewers that, you have a vast storehouse of knowledge, and how can folks get in touch with you?
Well, I'm underground. So you see me on Facebook, catch me on Donatus King and the Message Live. You see me in the streets.
All right. Well, we have just about 6 minutes. So what I'd like to do is, the last 2 minutes, I'm gonna take an exercise in my prerogative, the last 2 minutes, and take those as I usually do close the show. But let's give each of our panel members, and we can start with Dr. Franklin, some closing comments, and then we'll go to Brother Israel, and then I'll close this out. Sister Franklin.
Just have a great year. I think that each year we get every month we get a chance to do it differently. Every moon cycle, because I live on moon cycles and not the dates. But every cycle we get a chance to do it differently. But I'm just encouraging people to this year have fun in learning about who you are. Learn more about who you are and what your soul wants for this coming, for this cycle, and have fun learning about who you are.
All right. Dr. Ashante Franklin, thank you for joining us tonight. Brother Israel.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, be aware of, maybe it's a new topic for you too, but the fight continues and I'm deep, in this. And the new battlefront that's being pushed subliminally through the psychonaut is that there's this scientific versus spirit, science versus the soul. So they're trying to push this scientific agenda, science over the soul. But they're trying to move us away from the soul. And let me give an example right fast, how she said with spirit use. James Brown in your era, say Loud, Black and the Proud, Soul Brother #1, and all this stuff, and came and gave birth to Soul Sonic Force with Grandmaster Flash and then hip hop. But then all of that stuff was computerized. Right now, you hear every brother sounding the same, robotic. So even in the music world, our soul took us to heights. The soul has been robotized now. So I just want people to be aware. It's going down.
All right. And with that clarion call, I'll just make an observation that we're here. Okay, we are here. We have the call going out. You just heard Brother Israel with the call going out, and there's a scripture that speaks about all things work together. Okay, all things work together for good. And when you are indeed ascending, when your soul is indeed ascending, and this is again my opinion, take it for what it's worth. But when your soul is ascending, when you get to that point, whereas all things, the positive, the negative, the good, the bad, that all things work together as part of that one. And you get to that point where you start losing that individuality, losing that separateness, and coming to that point whereas it's no Donatus, no Brother Israel, no Dr. Franklin, no him, no her, but just that one. As we get closer and closer to that point, that realization, that reality that we are indeed part of the all in all. We get to that point, and sometimes, you know, we get to that point, and I heard somebody say something a while ago, that one is such a lonely number. You know, maybe we do have to come down from time to time, just so that we're not lonely. Okay, that one. Well, anyway, on that note, I'm going to close things out there, and I close things out there that no matter where you are with your chakras, your kundalini, your soul ascension, your soul awareness, no matter where you are. And I'm glad that Dr. Franklin brought up the topic as far as her profession, her field of teaching, and that social work, that there are some of us, you know, at the beginning of the show, I speak about, you know, problems that folks might be having, problems that they're having, relationship problems, health problems, financial problems, problems that maybe they've tried everything and nothing has worked to heal those problems, to resolve those problems. Well, Dr. Franklin has spoken on something that nowadays there are folks that are having problems, personal problems. And when I'm saying personal, not only problems dealing with others, but wrestling and dealing with things within themselves. And so many of us, sometimes we might try to go outside of ourselves, whether it's one of our religious advisors, our imam, our pastor, our rabbi. We might try to go for help in those directions. We might try to go to help. Some of us, we might try to self-medicate just to deal with what we're going through internally. I'm here to share with you that if you find yourself right now going through that, no matter what has not worked for you, be encouraged that there is a power, no matter what name you want to call it, there is a power that can bring you peace. No matter whatever it is you're going through, that can indeed bring you peace. And that power that personally I call God, that power is indeed Almighty. And as I close, I thank all of our panel members, Dr. Franklin, Brother Israel. I thank all of our Facebook viewers. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. Again, share this program, share this post with your Facebook friends. And no matter whatever it is, that the universe has in store for you in this upcoming week, my prayer, what I'm asking the universe, what I'm asking the almighty power, I'm asking that no matter whatever it is that's in store for you this upcoming week, that power that personally I call God, that power blesses you with peace. Sister Franklin, Brother Israel, good night and peace.